Thank you for tuning in to the Into the Classroom series produced by Mental Health California, sponsored by Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative. Hi, I want to welcome you to this Into the Classroom webinar being presented by Mental Health California and brought to you by Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative. My name is Michael P. Coleman, and today we're going to be talking with the Sacramento Youth Center. They're a fantastic partner of ours here in Northern California. We've got a good friend of mine, or new friend of mine, I should say, Mason Gizard. He's a peer work director over at Sacramento Youth Center. What's up, Mason?
Hey, how's it going?
Really good to see you. Thanks for being with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me.
Can't wait to get in. This is part of, again, an Into the Classroom series. So there are going to be a lot of young people in classrooms taking a look at this video. And so I thought we'd just kind of walk through the services that you provide and talk a little bit. Sacramento Youth Center, I love that first one, to serve all youth with equal opportunities, experiences, and hope. I want to get into that just a little bit. You mentioned hope there, and you also mentioned all youth. Can you talk about those two components to your mission? Why is inclusivity and including all youth so important to you? And then why are you so committed? I mean, obviously your Sacramento Youth Center, why is that a passion for you? I bet everybody that works there has that same passion for young people. Where's that come from? What's that all about?
Yeah, so our founders, Adam and Raquel Ship, when they founded Sacramento Youth Center, they were reaching out to a marginalized population within Sacramento, which was Afghan refugees. Sacramento, we have one of the largest refugee populations in the country coming from Afghanistan. A lot of these families are coming from rural parts of Afghanistan and coming to the US, and there's a whole lot of culture shock. So as we're reaching out to that marginalized group, we realized that our area in northern Sacramento, Del Paso Heights, Old North Sacramento area, it was home to a lot of marginalized populations. And from that, a passion came up and was kind of became easy to see, and it was a passion for people not to feel othered. So whether that is a refugee student who is coming from Afghanistan, learning a new language and adapting to American culture, or a young Black youth who goes to the local high school that's never been outside of the city and really wants to go to one of our camps and get experience being in the great outdoors. So that's where that inclusivity, that diversity piece comes out of it, that all youth piece. We want to provide them with equal opportunities. You know, one of the things that we want in our youth center is we don't want second best. So, you know, the thing with youth centers is people always try to pawn off their old couches to, oh, I got an old couch in my garage. Let's put that in there's a youth center. Well, we actually don't want that couch. We want a new couch. We want a couch that makes our space look like it was made for the youth that it's designed to serve. And then that hope piece comes out of our commitment to peer work. So our organization is a peer-run organization. That means that our every one of our staff have some kind of interaction with mental health or substance use recovery systems, and have experience managing that either themselves or have had a close family member who have had that experience. And they bring that experience to show that there's hope for our students who are serving to overcome those things.
Mason, when was the center founded? And I apologize, I don't know that up front.
Oh, that's okay. Sacramento Youth Center was founded in November of 2019. So just in time for a global pandemic, a youth center that it was built to be a space for people to gather, and there was nowhere to gather. Our youth center started, we have about a 15,000 square foot building now, but when we started, we were in only half of one of the classrooms with a half a ping pong table, a TV not connected to anything, and just some chairs. So when the pandemic started, one of our founders, Raquel, who's our executive director, she had a vision of putting our mentoring material and curriculum on an online platform, which was fortuitous, because as we went into a shutdown for those 2 to 3 weeks initially, um, it served as a resource to students who were feeling more and more disengaged from their community, more and more isolated from the world. So it brought our programming, brought our mentoring and our program to them over everybody's favorite platform, Zoom, and it allowed us to pivot very quickly. We were a very young organization, so we were able to pivot and move the ship, kind of with the ebbs and flows of the pandemic.
Yeah, you read my mind, because that was my next question, and I was wondering about that. My question was about, with the mentoring programs, how did you wind up with a hybrid model that you practice today? And it sounds like it came by necessity, that you were ready to do
Mm-hmm.
mentoring in-house, and then the world got upturned and you had to figure out how to bring services to youth virtually.
Yeah, and our organization, our founders, they did some work overseas with Somali refugees, and they were in Kenya. So they experience actually shutdowns quite often because of civil unrest and just different things. And so, really, our first class online was how to survive a shut or a shutdown, being locked in your homes. How do we survive that time? And so it was like 5 or 6 lessons, I think, of just that, just like, hey, these are some strategies to help maintain your mental health, your physical health, which we base all of our programs around SAMHSA's 8 dimensions of wellness.
Hmm.
And if you ask me to name them all off the top of my head, I'm going to disappoint you. But it's things like mental health, physical health, there's even spiritual health in there, and that's put out by SAMHSA. And so we developed our programming around those 8 dimensions, and our programs kind of grew from there. So um, on in our organization, kind of our cornerstone program, which developed out of that initial how to survive in a shutdown. Um, Going from that to developing and growing our peer mentor training program. That's kind of our cornerstone. It's built around the 8 dimensions of wellness, and what it aims to do is to equip young people, with the tools to help address some of the mental health concerns that they have in their own life, and then also adding on the physical health and the other 8 dimensions in SAMHSA's 8 dimensions of wellness, and then how to use those skills to support their peers. So our organization is all about peer support. So that's like a near peer support. Then we have our peer specialists who provide additional support. Our peer specialists are trained to work side by side with clinical staff, so with therapists, to provide that additional support that students need, that hope, because what peer specialists and what peers have, that clinicians may not have, and are limited in how they're able to share their personal experiences, is sharing their story of hope. That's where a primary goal and tenet of being a peer specialist and being a peer organization is saying there's more to life than what's happening right now. And I know that because I've been where you are, and now I'm here.
It's so powerful, Mason. We just spoke with another community partner who talked about the tenet of hope and how very important it is. Can you share your perspective? I heard one perspective just a few minutes ago. Can you share your perspective on the lack of hope that you must have perceived, that your organization must have perceived in order to structure a program around building and encouraging hope? There are going to be young people listening that are probably feeling some of that right now. And as I think about the people that walk through your doors or who Zoom into sessions, by the way, I've never been more envious of I'm typically not an envious person, but when I saw the age range of your group that you serve, and you talked about getting people ready for a pandemic, I could have benefited from some lessons on how to survive that. So I could imagine how someone half of my age or a third of my age would really struggle during that time. It had to be incredibly challenging. But my question for you is, what did you perceive that was out there that prompted you guys to say we need to build that into the curriculum as a part of the core of the service?
Yeah, I think hopelessness is not new. Hopelessness, it can rear up in different ways in different circumstances. It just happened that a trigger for hopelessness for us as a society was a global pandemic and isolation. That feeling of being alone, that feeling of not having the same supports that maybe you had prior to the pandemic. But it wasn't just the pandemic that influenced that. It was our personal lived experience of our own lives, the education that we've received, and then our experience with young people, um, being able to identify that need for hope. We all need hope to be able to look into the future and say, yes, I'm ready to take that next step forward. Without hope, it's difficult to make any positive steps in your life, because if you don't have a glimmer of a positive future, or a glimmer of a um, a positive outcome that can't be seen, then it's difficult to take those challenging steps or to persevere when things get difficult. Um, I think that one of the things that we see in our society right now is we are in another kind of pandemic, and it's a mental health pandemic all around the world. Not to speak too broadly, but all around the world, we see this as a big part of the news. We have studies coming out from our own government that young girls are struggling with their own sense of who they are and their own ability to to hope for themselves. We see young Black and brown students struggling. I think suicide rates for Black and brown students have gone up almost 200% in the last 5 to 7 years. So that was a trend that was already happening in our world before the pandemic. The pandemic accelerated so much, and just identifying hope. Peer work is not new. We're not inventing peer work. A very common thing that you might see is AA. AA is a form of peer support. It's a peer-run program and organization. It's people with lived experience supporting each other. This is similar in that we have a shared experience of being in a place where we experienced hopelessness, and then also finding that light at the end of the tunnel, persevering, and using that experience to help guide a young person through that.
Yeah, there's so much of your program that's intriguing to me, and I want to touch on just a couple of them before we get back to your slides. You talked about your programs being peer driven and peer facilitated, and I think it's so important for any of us really at any age. It's really empowering to find someone who's sort of on the same level as you are, someone that you can look eye to eye and you see yourself in them a little bit, and to hear from them stories of recovery and resilience and strength and overcoming kind of gives you the hope that if they got through that, then I could certainly do that. The other piece I wanted to just touch on is you picked a really great model. You don't need me to tell you this, but to have such a model that's based on diversity, for lack of a better word, here in Sacramento is one of the most diverse cities I've ever lived in. So there are a lot of different cultural and ethnic groups here. So it's very wise on you guys' part to kind of cast the net quite broadly. So congratulations on the structuring of that program. I wanted to ask you just one question about the model. I know the hybrid online model. So you created it by design. Your Sacramento Youth Center. Do you have to live? And we're going to be, this particular production is going to be shown in classrooms all throughout the city, public high schools throughout the city. Do you have to be a Sacramento resident to take advantage of Sacramento Youth Center programs?
So like other organizations, through the pandemic, we've evolved and adapted and made changes. So our organization is in person now. We do have ways for individuals to engage with our organization online, and that's through our Discord. And if you go to Sacramento, sacucenter.org/links, that has all of our links for current programs that we're recruiting for. It also has our social media. It has our Discord. So our social media, like our Instagram and our TikTok, those things are pretty active, and you can engage that way. And then on our Discord, we have some active discussions going on in there. One of the things that we look towards in the future of our program is, for a while we had Zoom fatigue, and so many students shied away from online interaction. But then we did some research in partnership with another organization, and with students specifically in Sacramento, and they identified telehealth as a preferred option for mental and behavioral health services. And so we've written a couple grants. We actually just got a grant that will help invigorate that aspect of our program. So growing our Discord community, and then getting peer specialists online to be able to do telehealth peer support with young people, even those who are not here in Sacramento. So that is something that we are developing, and be on the lookout for that, for those resources, because it is a goal. We know that we have the ability to, through the internet, through online means, reach more than just our immediate area. And the need is great, especially online. There's so much negativity. We have a lot of YouTubers who are influencing our young men in misogyny and racism and classism, just all the isms. We have a lot of these influencers that are grabbing the hearts of our young men. And so one of our goals is to provide a space that is positive, that is not just like, oh, we're just a positive message, but seeing people that look like them, people who are their age online, putting out content that is for them, by them. And that's a project actually we're working right now in partnership with the Future Forward program. You might see around California, those billboards. We have a podcasting program that we're doing with students to help amplify their message of wellness, to expand the reach of the work that we're doing here in Sacramento.
Congratulations on the grant.
Thank you.
Interrupt you. That's fantastic. The grants aren't easy to get, so congratulations on getting that and the opportunity to expand your services. Let's take a look at your deck if we could. We've got a few more minutes, Mason. There's another part, parent guides, and I couldn't wait to talk to you about this. You develop resources, you support parents, whether you're doing a great job. I love the way you put this, on navigating a tense relationship with your teen. Whoever wrote your copy is brilliant. I have raised 2 teens of my own, so I know sometimes that's a lot harder than it looks on TV, right? But I wanted to ask you about two questions, really. What's been the biggest challenge in developing that service and putting materials together to help support parents? And then what are you hearing from parents as they're maybe number one or number 2 I don't want to use the word obstacle. What are the two biggest challenges from the parents' perspective in working with their teens?
Yeah, I think with parents, I have teenagers. I foster and adopt teenage boys, so I've only raised teenagers. I know that in our parent guides, they started out of necessity in the pandemic, where parents were also stuck. I don't want to say stuck at home, but they were stuck at home, and they were spending more time with their kids, and tensions run high, and teenagers, aren't always the nicest, and in the in from the parents' perspective, and parents don't listen from the kids' perspective, and that all comes to a head. If you're inhabiting a small space, so the guides came out of a need of, like, parents also need some tools. And as the pandemic, we came through the pandemic, on the other side of it, now we're still dealing with a lot of the problems that developed within the pandemic, a lot higher rates of depression and anxiety, and parents not feeling equipped to support their teenagers that are in their home. So the parent guides were created uh, to be a guide, to be a resource for the parents, a way of initiating some conversations with the young folks in their home. We worked with our marriage and family therapists, that we have, that consults for a lot of our curriculum, to help develop those resources. And then a lot of our support to parents now. Parents, we get a lot of single parents, a lot of single moms who call in, and they are looking for resources for their children, but also we're realizing that they need support as well. So many times, some of my day is spent just being there and listening to the mom's frustrations, just being an ear, and being that peer support for them. We have a shared experience raising teenagers. So, and then me being on the other side, where I have some adult teenagers who are who've made it to the other side, as I say, and to be able to provide that hope even to them. So be able, when we talk about peer support, our primary goal is to support young people, 14 to 24. But also, when the need arises, when the opportunity comes, we're ready to provide support for their parents and caregivers as well.
Really appreciate hearing that. And I want to, before we move on to my next question, I want to touch on what you commented on about early in answering me. You talked about, you said, from the student's perspective, from the parent's perspective, youth aren't always the nicest. They don't always say the nicest of things. And let's also, and I'm not suggesting that you've forgotten it, but parents don't always say the nicest of things either.
That's
and
true.
and I happen to know that, my mom used to say, we don't get a manual. I never got a manual to teach me how to be a mother. The first time around, especially, you're really literally figuring it out as you go along. And there are a lot of resources, agencies like yours, that provide resources, but let's give both our youth and our parents a little bit of grace, because in some cases we're doing the best we can, both groups. And then, as you said, during the pandemic, everybody's suddenly thrust together 24 hours a day, and I could imagine the issues that came up there. So hats off to you guys for providing some services for both youth and for parents.
Absolutely.
I want to take a look. I think it's your final slide, and I can't believe it's events. And what I really want to talk, the word big stood out for me. I don't know who wrote your copy, but we have big events at least once a month. And so that brought the same smile to my face as the smile on those youth on that slide. Could you talk about some of the events that you've got coming out? Tease us a little bit. What can individuals look forward to if they want to stop by the center for an event?
Yeah, the events that we design for young people is uh, not really designed by us on the older side of our staff. We want to hear youth voices when it comes to the events that we're putting on So a lot of times there's youth involvement, youth have say, and we kind of prioritize what they're prioritizing. So coming up, we are going into kind of a busy time in our schedule. So we don't have something right now, but on the calendar to point them to immediately. But we do have like our big summer bash that happens towards the end of summer, and that is just a way of like closing out the summer fun and then ushering in a new season, which is back to school. So we go all out for those, and any of our events, they're always on our social media. So if you're ever a question like, oh, I wonder what's going on at Sacramento Youth Center, it's you go to our Instagram, our social media, that links page. It will always have up to date events that are coming up.
Really appreciate it, and wrapping up that summer event is the perfect timeline. This one will be seen the first time later this spring, when a lot of our youth are looking forward to summer. So I think
good.
The timing of that event is perfect for young people to take a look at. We're just about out of time. I know we've got some information next so that people know how they can connect with you. You're on Del Paso Boulevard here in Sacramento. There's a phone number and an email address for everybody. Anything you want to close with, Mason? Anything that we missed, something you want to mention to the young people that are watching this?
Yeah, I mean, you can email us all you want. You can call us. We'll pick up the phone. We'll respond to emails. The best way to figure out what we have to offer, who we are, is to come to the center. We have so much going on. We have a recording studio with open recording hours. We partner with a local rap artist, and him and his team come and help record. You can come and sign up for up to 2-hour sessions if you're interested in doing that. They'll help you write music, record music. They'll even teach you how to promote it and make money off of it. The other thing is we have a front-facing coffee shop. We serve specialty coffee. It serves the public. So it has to be good. It can't just, be halfway good. It has to be all the way good. And come in and get a drink. And then come into the youth center because truly the space that we have is quality. We have video games, we have PlayStations, Xboxes, we have games, and we have people who are wanting to connect with you, wanting to support you. But if you're not interested in talking to us, especially the first few times, that's okay. You can come and charge your phone, and that's okay with us. But come and say hi, introduce yourself. We'd love to give you a welcome box. Every student gets a welcome box and a tour, and so you can know fully what we have to offer at Sacramento Youth Center.
And the way you described it, Mason, you can get to know them. They get a welcome box. They come in, you give them a tour, and then the space is really theirs.
It's theirs.
Their space. It's beautiful. I think what you've done is really beautiful to create that space for them. So hats off to you. Mason, Sacramento Youth Center, I really appreciate you, sir. And thanks for stopping by and sharing information for us. I'm looking forward to our young people letting us know that they stopped by and checked you out. Appreciate the time that you gave us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. And I want to thank you for checking out this video, this Into the Classroom video, as a part of a series where we're highlighting organizations in Sacramento and surrounding areas that are providing services to young people. This has been part of an entire series presented by Mental Health California. And as long as I'm talking about Mental Health California, I need to talk about our signature initiative. It's called Brother Be Well. It's designed for boys and men of color. And you can read about that one at brotherbewell.com. Those sites just ran for you. So check both of those services out, Mental Health California and Brother Be Well. I'd also like to mention, I'd be remiss not to, that this particular production wouldn't be possible without the generous support from Blue Shield of California's Blue Sky Initiative. You can read all about that fantastic program at bluesky.blueshieldca.com. My name is Michael P. Coleman. I've been your host today. It's an honor of mine to bring you information just like this one. Come back for another Into the Classroom video series if you got the time. And until next time, I'm going to ask you to do 2 quick things for me. I won't call it homework, but it kind of is. Take great care of yourself and take great care of somebody else. Till next time. Bye-bye. you.